to my channel. My name is Deyaniracavazos and I'm an LPC-associate from the state of Texas. So in today's video, I am going to be sharing with you how to get started with social media as a therapist or a therapist in training. I'm going to be giving you tips for beginners who want to get started with YouTube and Instagram or whatever social media platform you prefer, whether that be TikTok or Facebook, whatever it is that you want to do. And I'm also going to be sharing with you what equipment and software, basically everything that I use for my YouTube channel for creating content also on Instagram. And this video is also one that was requested from you all, so I'm so excited to finally share it with you. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. So first things first, let's go ahead and talk about how to get started or where to even begin to start when it comes to social media as a therapist or as a grad student, as a therapist in training. So the first tip that I want to share with you is to start brainstorming. Think about and write down what social media platforms you'd like to get started on. I personally recommend starting on one so it doesn't feel too overwhelming. So for me, I know I first started on Instagram and then eventually created this YouTube channel. Some other things that are good to brainstorm are the type of audience or population that you're going to be creating content for or geared towards, so you have a clear vision of what you want to do. And this part was a little overwhelming for me when I got started because part of me felt overwhelmed. You know, what if I create this content and later I want to change my mind once I start private practice? Because I started creating content on Instagram back when I was a grad student. And so I want to pass on this little bit of advice to you. A lesson learned from me is that it's always better to just get started and then change things later if you want to or need to. There's nothing wrong with growing or outgrowing, you know, the things that you're first doing, but it's so important to just get started. So think about your branding colors. Who is this content going to be for? How often do you want to be posting content? Because maybe posting every single day is not something that's possible for you if you're a grad student. So maybe posting once a week or twice a week, whatever schedule is going to be better for you. And then lastly, also just bookmarking or saving certain posts or videos that really inspire you or that you enjoy watching, and begin asking yourself, you know, what is it about this content that I enjoy? Is this the type of content that I would like to create? How can I make this my own? Because of course we do not want to copy someone else's content, but I personally think that it's a great idea to go out and get inspiration and really think about the content that you enjoy consuming and asking yourself if this is the type of content that you also want to create. Or even ask yourself, what would I change about this? What would I do differently? Now, tip number 2 is to identify and set healthy boundaries. So really begin to think about, what am I okay with sharing online? What am I not okay with? So that way you have a clearer vision of the type of content you want to make. So I know for me, here on this channel, there's certain things that I do show, certain things that I don't. And this decision is going to vary per counselor or per therapist, because I know for me, I don't show my husband or my family on here really, versus there's other therapists that I have watched who do show their husband or show their loved ones. So there's really no right answer here. This is one of those gray areas as therapists that, you know, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, am I okay with one of my clients possibly seeing this or asking me questions about this? How would I answer that? And sometimes you may not even have a clear answer as to why you don't feel comfortable sharing something online, and that's okay. You do not have to share things that you don't feel comfortable sharing with. You can always make content in your office when it's just you, nothing else showing, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with. Or you can also decide to share certain lifestyle aspects of your life as a therapist, but those are some good things to really define for yourself. Try it out, and it's also okay if you outgrow this or if things change for you in the future too. Tip number 3 is to take your time getting to know the app or the social media platform of your choosing. Take your time to really get to know the app, watch some tutorial videos on YouTube about it, explore the different features and brainstorm maybe how you can use some of those features. And I especially want to say this when it comes to YouTube, take your time. You do not have to rush things, because personally I would say that there's definitely a lot more aspects to YouTube than creating content on any other platform. And that's just my personal opinion from having used different types of platforms. There's just a lot more things to kind of figure out, and it doesn't mean that you can't, but it's also normal to feel a little bit overwhelmed at first. So if you want, create a little schedule for yourself where you dedicate one day to learning how to make thumbnails, or one day to learning how to edit, another day to learning how to actually post a video on YouTube, so just breaking it up in little parts. I had to do that when I first started YouTube about 4 years ago. So definitely don't feel rushed. Give yourself time to learn. Tip number 4, and the final tip from this little section, is to add disclaimers to your social media content, or also add your supervisor's name if you're like me and you're an LPC-associate or a pre-licensed therapist. That is a requirement from my Texas State Board. So if you look on my website, my Instagram, YouTube, I have my supervisor's name on there as well. And it's also a really good idea to add a disclaimer so you let those that are consuming your content know that it doesn't mean that you're forming a therapeutic relationship. Being on social media is not therapy, but you are using it for marketing purposes or also for educational purposes. So now that we talked about that, let's go ahead and move on to the equipment I use, what I actually use to create YouTube videos and content on Instagram and social media in general. And everything that I mentioned is going to be linked down in my description box. So if you want to explore some of those things or even purchase some of those things yourself, I'll have them down there for you to go ahead and check out. So the first thing I want to say, for anyone who is a beginner, please, and maybe you've already heard this before, but do not feel like you have to go out and invest a ton of money in first starting your YouTube channel or in content creation. You can literally start filming with your phone. Honestly, some of the newest iPhones have better camera quality than my first small vlog camera that I bought about 4 years ago. So please, please, please do not feel pressured to have to go out and buy things. You can literally start a YouTube channel with just your smartphone, and on the App Store you can even get free editing software. All of the equipment that I'm going to be sharing with you that I now have, it literally took me over the course of 3 to 4 years to purchase these things gradually. So let's go ahead and get started with the equipment that I currently use to create content on YouTube and Instagram. So the first camera is the one that I'm currently filming with, and that is my Canon EOS Rebel SL3. This one is my chunkier SLR camera. I love it so much for sit-down videos. The quality is just, I personally love the quality of it, and I've had it for almost 3 years now. No complaints. I love it. Now, my newest camera that I also use for this YouTube channel, which I tend to use more for vlogging purposes because it's smaller, it's more lightweight, is my Canon PowerShot G7X Mark II. And honestly, it has just made vlogging so much more accessible and easier for me. So for those of you who ever do find yourself at a point where you want to invest in a camera or you feel ready to do so, you definitely want to think about what your needs are going to be as a YouTuber. So for me, I vlog, but then I also like doing sit-down videos. So if you feel like you'd like to do a little bit of both of those things that I mentioned, both vlogging and also sit-down, I would still recommend the Canon G7X Mark II. So the vlogging camera that I have, I feel like it is a great starter camera. It allows you to do both, and you can always just buy a microphone for it. Even though this specific version wasn't created to easily attach to a microphone, you can totally jerry-rig it to actually be able to attach it. You would just have to get a different adapter so you could watch a YouTube video on that. But there's also a newer version of that that does come with the ease of access to attach a microphone to it. It's just, when I compared both of the qualities, I actually really liked this one over that one. So that can be a little bit overwhelming, but that's why it's super important to not rush into buying a camera. Definitely do your research, watch different video reviews on different cameras. That way you can see what better suits your needs as a YouTuber. Now the next piece of equipment that I use is my microphone, and I have that attached to this camera. So I personally don't use a microphone on my Canon vlogging camera, and it's just something that I have to deal with. The sound and the audio isn't as good as with this camera with the microphone, but it's just one of those things that I'm okay with. It's not a big deal. I tend to use it more for B-roll, and I tend to use this camera more for the sit down chatty things for the most part. And this microphone that I use is a Rode microphone, and again, I will have that linked down in my description box for you. So next, let's go ahead and move on to the laptop that I use. So the laptop that I use for literally my whole business, but specifically also for content creation, is the HP Pavilion 14-inch laptop. This one has touchscreen. You're able to fold it like a tablet, and it has 8 gigabytes of memories. I'm personally a PC girl. I've been using this laptop since I was in grad school. Now the other piece of equipment that I use is a hard drive, and one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't get this sooner, because it would have saved me so many headaches. As a YouTuber, I wish I would have gotten a hard drive early on, because that way you can go ahead and just film, and even if you can't get to editing, you have a bunch of footage just saved up, because on my laptop there's just not enough storage for me to be able to hold on to so much footage and edited videos. So I save all of my footage and videos on there, because trust me, if you've spent enough time being a YouTuber, even just when you first start, there will be times when you will lose footage or something will happen, and you will be so thankful that you ended up saving that footage onto your hard drive versus having to refilm. It is the most frustrating thing. As a YouTuber, you don't get that time back. So the one that I use is called the Seagate One Touch TB external portable hard drive, and once again, it'll be linked down below. Now let's go ahead and get into what ring light I use. So I currently still use my ring light. I used to use it a lot more when I lived in my really low light apartment, because if you don't have access to windows, lighting is going to be so key for your video quality. So for example, even though I have this great quality camera, if I have terrible lighting, the quality of my video is going to look grainy also. That goes for any camera, so it's super important to have nice lighting. And if you're a beginner and you don't want to invest in having a ring light, then just schedule the time that you film during really good daylight hours, so that way you can stand near a window and you have the lighting coming at you from the window. So you never want to film with the window behind you if you don't have at least another window in front of you, because then the whole back scene is going to be backlit and there's no light hitting your face. And the ring light that I've used for the past 3 years is called the Mount Dog 18-inch. So moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the editing software that I use. So I actually use free editing software for my laptop, and it's called Davincci Resolve. So if you're looking for a free editing software, that's one that you can use. But if you are an Apple Mac user, then you also have access to some editing softwares through the App Store, so you can use iMovie. So don't put too much stock in that when you're first getting started, because learning how to edit is something that will take its own time for you to just play around, see what text you like, see how you like editing clips, all of that. Now next up is basically the holy grail, the backbone to all my content creation, and that is Canva.com. I have been using Canva probably since I was a freshman in undergrad, when I would just play around with like creating stuff on there. And so I use Canva to create my thumbnails, to create all of my Instagram content, the little intro video that you guys see to all of my YouTube videos, and also any graphics or any kind of special text that I want in my videos. I also use Canva for that, because you're able to just take off the background, which is super useful when you're editing videos, because then you can just overlay it on top of your video. And so again, you do not have to do all of that when you first start off. It's just something that over time I have continued to develop and enjoy the look of certain things that I create. And so that's something that you'll get to explore for yourself. But especially if you're thinking of getting into creating content For Instagram, for example, you will definitely need Canva. I highly recommend it. And you can actually start off with the free version, which is what I had for years before I started my private practice, and then invested in paying for the subscription, which honestly still is super affordable. But also, going back to my grad school days, I appreciated free things and being able to just try things out without feeling like I had to pay for them at first. So I highly recommend start off with the free versions of things, see how you like it, and then change it as you continue to grow. You do not have to rush into paying for a bunch of stuff at first. Now, the last thing that I use for content creation, and I thought I would just mention it, is Google Docs. So just in case anyone out there doesn't know, Google Docs is free. So it's basically Microsoft Word, but the online free version, which honestly, I used Google Docs since I was in grad school because then my things were saved in multiple places. And I've just continued to use Google Docs to this day to create outlines of my videos and to plan out my content creation and create little checklists for myself on there. So I have a list of my video ideas and the video ideas that you all have submitted to me. I plan my video titles on there, and then I also create like a bullet point outline of what I want to be saying in my videos, which is what I ended up doing to create this videos. So again, a little bit more behind the scenes of how I plan out my content. And that is it for this video, everybody. I really hope that you found it helpful or it inspired you to maybe get started on some of these dreams and goals that you have for yourself when it comes to content creation. Definitely let me know down in the comment section if you found this helpful or if you have any other questions. If you like this video, be sure to like it, subscribe if you're new to the channel. I would love to have you join the community. Share this video or my channel with others. All of these things help support my channel so that I can keep creating videos for you all. Take care, everyone, and I will go ahead and see you in my next video. Bye.